This is can you even see it? So I have a little story time. This is something that's been on my mind recently, and it's something that I think I should share. I have a lot of these kinds of thoughts quite often. I just don't really document them. I just let these thoughts sit in my brain and just let them just come and go. And I think, man, I should really say something about this, because someone's gonna find value in it, whether it's someone now or myself 30 years later in the future. And that's also why I made this YouTube channel. So this video is about why I hated video games and my love-hate relationship with dopamine. I've always loved video games. I loved Pokemon, and it was a way for me to connect with my family members because we were all Asian. This was actually when I was living with one of my aunts for a couple years. Was it even a whole year? Anyways, video games were how I connected with people, and it's how I made friends back in the day. But now just recently, I hated video games. I was actually really judgmental towards people who played video games, because ultimately it had a negative impact on my life later on from my childhood, and it just gave me a really negative stigma towards people who play video games. But I think that I've changed my opinion on that recently. So in my childhood, I loved Pokemon. That was my thing. I absolutely loved Pokemon. As a matter of fact, one of my plushies right here is Blastoise. And it was a way for me to make friends. It was really easy to make friends with video games. I mean, you're playing a game together, you're having fun. It's bonding. It's bonding. It's the modern age of bonding. Now, I loved video games, and I played video games my whole life. Senior year, I was dating this girl, and her name was Samantha. And I loved video games so much. I had a Nintendo Switch back in the day. I still have it. It's somewhere in my room. I loved video games more than her, really. And I remember over the weekends, I'd rather be playing video games. She'd be like, let's go hang out, let's do this or that. I'm like, okay. I'm playing Splatoon right now. I need to get to my next rank. And that meant a lot to me. That Fortnite meant more to me than AP Physics homework, and my grades suffered from that. I lost a lot of opportunities younger in life because I was so addicted to video games. And I lost so many memories, I lost so many friendships other friendships that could have happened. And I also was in a really dark place at the time, and I was also very addicted to video games because I was a bit of a coping mechanism for me at the time. And I hated that. I correlated video games with wasting time, killing time. I remember playing Splatoon. That was my game. I was so good at Splatoon. I would just play for at least 4 to 7 hours a day. It was bad. I even remember New Year's Eve, I was playing Splatoon and Gilmore was sitting, my dog, Gilmore was sitting on the bed, and we were just chilling the whole day. Samantha was texting me, come over, let's hang out, let's invite some friends over for New Year's Eve. Okay. I kind of want to chill. No, come on. It wasn't until 7 o'clock that day I ended up going over, and life was just so crazy. And I could have had a lot of memories that day, but I just chose not to. And also, I feel like when you wrap yourself up in video games, you just lose so much of what the world has to offer, and landscapes and geography. Until the other day, I was super judgmental of people who play video games. I'm like, hey, so what do you do? And they say, oh, I play video games. I'm like, do you do anything else? And they're like, no, that's about it. And I would judge them because I felt like those people had no substance to them. I felt like they were nobodies. I judged them because I thought they were losers. Now I think, like, that's not cool. That's not cool. I really like hiking, and someone might not like that. Ultimately, there's this hiking phrase. It's called hike your own hike. And when you're backpacking, you want to go as light as possible, or as light as your budget allows, and how comfortable you want. Now, for example, a 7-pound ultralight gear list is really good, really rock solid, super disciplined with with your gear and what you take with you. But for some people, it might be 9 pounds because they want a little more comfort in their sleep. Or sometimes it might be 9 pounds because someone like me likes to bring camera equipment. Or maybe it's 9 pounds because 10 pounds because someone wants to bring a little ukulele to play once they're at camp. And that's totally cool. That's what makes someone unique. And it's what makes an individual their own. And so when you hike your own hike, you're not supposed to judge someone because they want a better sleep setup or they want to have camera gear. That's totally cool. That's them. And then that made me think, why am I judging people who like video games? Maybe that's what they like. Maybe that's what they want to do. And, that's totally okay. And if they have no other hobbies, then instead of judging them, what you should do is encourage them to perhaps get out of their comfort zone and pursue other hobbies. And I am supposed to invite them. Hey, person, let's go try a new restaurant. Let's go to a cooking class. Let's find a botanical garden to go to. Let's go bike the Greenbelt in Boise. You know what I mean? And so that's what happened with me. That's why I branched out of video games, because I was so focused on video games I didn't really have anything else in my life. And then I tried other hobbies, and I just sort of branched out from video games. And I look back on life. I look back from video games, and I think, wow, I couldn't be in that place, but I was in that place. And so now I feel like I should give people the opportunity to learn and discover other things about life. Like, for example, I recently got into surfing, and this in the winter I'm going to get into snowboarding. That's super cool. I'm excited about that. I wanted to get into theater for a while. I'm just trying to experience more life. And here's my other note. So, reflection. Video games, so think something like, let's say, Call of Duty. That's not necessarily going to be my thing. But I remember I was playing Breath of the Wild. That was one of my favorite games ever. It was a story. That's what it was. It was an interactive story. It's like movies. Why are movies so awesome? It's because you live in someone else's shoes and you sort of get a glimpse of their life and their experiences. You don't actually live through it, but you sort of feel the same way. For example, I watched this movie. It's called The Last Samurai, featuring Tom Cruise with a friend. And at the end of it, we both cried because I felt the honor of fighting for what you believe in. And I felt the change in culture and how You go from trauma, and then you go to a simple life, and that changes you. And I've kind of gone into a little bit of rat race. I'm trying to start a YouTube channel. I'm trying to get into photography. I'm trying to start a website. I'm trying to network in Boise. I'm trying to go to the academy. I'm trying to push myself to my physical limits. I'm also trying to expand my social network. I'm playing the military game as well. And it's okay to have a simple life. And that's where minimalism means so much to me. So the conclusion of this monologue is that I want life experience. I was told it's not about the years to your life, but the life to your years. And it's about trying new things, getting out of your comfort zone. And that's what it was for me. For me, video games was a total comfort zone, and it totally is. I mean, you're sitting and you're having the dopamine rush of something regular, but you're sitting and you're just moving your hands. But there are some video games where I did get a story out of them. I did learn from them. For example, I played Breath of the Wild. That's a good example. I learned from that. And there's other story games like Undertale. That's one of my favorite games ever. Because it told a story. Yes, was it a video game? Yes, but it was a very deep story, and the musical scores and everything about that movie, everything about that game. Undertale is one of my all-time favorite video games, and it always will be because of the story it had, and I got life experience out of playing that game just like I would watching a movie. Now, I love movies. I recently started getting back into watching films, and I just think it's so interesting how you can step into someone else's life and experience a whole nother world and learn something from that. I think that's what matters most. You got to learn something from that. This is what goes through my mind, and things like this go through my mind. I do have a journal. I try and write in it as often as I can, at least weekly. It is on my Patreon. If you want to check that out, go ahead. I do have a website, and I'm trying to do so many things at once. I'm working on my photography. I have this thing I'm going to try out. It's called the Ekai Archives, where I go back in my Google Photos and I just repost an old photo. For example, I have a photo from 2016 of the back porch. It's a picture of a sunset from the back porch of a house I lived in on Lakeshore Drive, 341 Lakeshore Drive, North Sioux City, South Dakota. I hated that house. But I learned so much, and I went through so much life in that house. That's the conclusion I have for this video, and that's about it. Yeah, this is me documenting my life, so thank you for watching.